Hello children, welcome to another video of mine. Today we are going to look into all important concept related to the last chapter in economics, that is globalization and the world economy. MNCs. Well, that is the topic I'm going to discuss on this slide. What is the full form of MNCs, children? MNCs stands for multinational company. Now you will be asking me, what is multinational company? Well children, these are companies where their head office is in their motherland and they have manufacturing units in other countries over the world. Now for example, let's take Hyundai. Hyundai is basically from Korea. So their head office is in Korea, but their manufacturing units are in many states in India. This is called an MNC. Now, what are the features of MNC? Well, obviously, the first feature is they will set up their factories where there's cheap labor, cheap land, resources available, and all other things which are favorable to them. By doing this, children, what will happen? Their cost will be minimum and they will be able to earn more profit. So now let's look in detail what are the factors of MNC. First one, set up units where the goods are produced at a very minimum cost. Set up units near the market. Set up units which has favorable government policies. Availability of skilled manpower and cheap skilled manpower, and last one, availability of water and electricity. Now children, let's see what steps MNCs take to spread their production unit in other countries. Number one, they set up their production unit close to the market. Number two, they enter into joint venture with the local company of that country. Number three, they set up their factory where they can get cheap, skilled and unskilled laborer. Number four, if they get a big order, they place that order with the small producers. By doing that, they have the power to determine the price, the quality, the delivery and labor condition for that producer. The last one is they purchase local companies. So these are the few methods that MNCs take to spread their production units in different countries. Now let's look at the effects of MNCs on local and small producer. Like we know, a coin has got two sides. Every aspect has a positive and a negative side. So in the same manner, the coming of MNCs was both an advantage and disadvantage to the local and small producers. Let's now look at the advantage. The first advantage is they learned new types of production methods. Number two, they adopted new technology for producing their goods. Number three, they started increasing the standard of production and this automatically led in having better quality of products for the customers. Now, what is the disadvantage? The first disadvantage is they had to face tough competition. Number two, if they were not able to overcome this competition, their factories would automatically be shut. And this would lead to a lot of unemployment in the country. Number three, the MNCs believed in hire and fire attitude. That is, they hired employees on contract basis. The last one is the change in government policy also badly affected the local and small producers in that country. Now let's look at what is the advantage of foreign trade or how has this integration of foreign trade benefited the people throughout the world. Number one, with the coming up of foreign trade, goods and services are produced at local level. Number two, not only movements of people have started, but also there has been a speed up or increase in movements, in investment and technology throughout the world. Number three, production is process is complex. I do agree, but it is also systematic. Now here I would like to say an example of Hyundai. Now Hyundai's main office is in Korea. We see the manufacturing plants of cars in India, and maybe the sales units are found in Bangladesh and Singapore, etc. So here we can see how well organized the Hyundai factory is and how systematically the manufacturing process is done. The next one is opportunities for local companies. Now let's take the example of MNCs coming into India. With the MNCs coming into India, like I have said earlier, it's not the movement of people, technology, investment has increased. So automatically this has been an advantage for the domestic producers. They are able to sell their goods not only in India, but with the coming of this movement or with the increase in these movements, they are able to even sell their goods in the foreign market. Next one is buyers like you and me have got lot of choice. Earlier, in the late 80s and the late 70s, if we wanted a foreign thing, we had to wait for our uncles or aunties who were abroad to come for a vacation so that they will bring that foreign chocolate or a foreign perfumes, etc. But today, that is not the scenario, children. Today, if you want a foreign stuff, you need not wait for your uncles and aunties to come from a foreign country. You can just go to nearby malls. There, the foreign things are available and you can buy the choice you want, the brand you want. So this is one of the biggest advantage of foreign trade. And the last one is MNCs connects and integrates market across the world. The world has become a very small place now with the coming of MNCs. What things are sold in India or the things which are made in India, the same thing you can find it in Dubai or you can find it in US, etc. So with the coming of these MNCs, it has made the world a very small place to live in. Now let's look at the difference between a local investment and a foreign investment. What do you mean by a local investment, children? A local investment is where the money is spent for buying a product such as building or land inside your country. For example, let's take your dad has bought a house in Chennai. That is a local investment. Or let's take another example. When you people grow up, you get a good job, you buy a car of your own in India. That is a local investment. Whereas, what is a foreign investment? Foreign investment is where you invest your money in buying an asset in a foreign country. For example, let's assume that your dad buys a flat in Dubai. That is a foreign investment. Or when you people grow up, you go to Dubai and set up a manufacturing unit or you set up a factory in Dubai. That is a foreign investment. So what are the different modes of foreign investment? Number one, by bringing in your capital and buying the company. Number two, by having a joint venture with a local company. Number three, by buying a local company. Or the last one is by placing an order with a small local producers. These are the same methods which has been adopted by an MNC in expanding their production units also. Now let's look at another term, the term globalization. What is meant by globalization, children? Well, it refers to the process of integration of market and interconnecting or interconnection between countries. By globalization, the contacts have increased with other nations, and it has made the world a very smart place to live in. Now, what are the reasons for globalization? Number one, to improve the means of communication and technology. Number two, to increase trade and commerce among the nation. Number three, to improve the means of transportation. And the last one, to create mobility of people in search of job and better education. Now let's look at the factors responsible for globalization. Children, there are only three factors that are responsible for globalization. Number one, technology. Number two, transport. And the last one is information and communication. Liberalization and trade barriers. What is the meaning of liberalization? Children, liberalization means opening up of the market. How is it done? It is done by removing all trade barriers that was imposed by the government of a nation. So what is the advantage of liberalization? Number one, the market is opened up for foreign investors. By doing that, foreign investors will start entering into our country, investing in our country, which automatically in turn will bring in foreign currency, which automatically will lead to economic growth of the country. Number two, it also helps in creating a lot of job opportunities. India became liberal in the year 1991. Now let's look at the next factor. What is a trade barrier? Any tax or any other form of restriction that is imposed on the import of goods into a country is called a trade barrier. This trade barrier is usually done to safeguard the domestic market. India, after independence, had imposed trade barriers and allowed imports of only those essential commodities to give protection to the upcoming industries in India. WTO. That is the next concept we are going to discuss. What is the full form of WTO? World Trade Organization. Where is its headquarters? It is in Switzerland, Geneva. When was it formed? On 1st January 1995 with the aim of promoting international trade throughout the world. Now, what are the objectives of WTO? First one, to enhance the standard of living and income, promote full employment, expand production, trade to the maximum throughout the world. Next one, it also introduced sustainable development, a concept which ensures that development and environment can go together. The last one is take positive step to ensure that developing countries, especially least developed ones, and to see that they secure a better share in world trade. Now, what are the functions of WTO? To administer and make laws or policies for international trade, to sort in disputes between two nations regarding trade, to oversee national trade policy. The next one is to administer the trade review mechanism in relationship with international trade. And the last one is to cooperate with international institutions such as IMF, IBRD, and other agencies involved in global policy making. Now let's look at the impact of globalization in Indian economy. Well, children, like I told you before, a coin has got two sides. With the coming up of globalization, the Indian economy also had its positive effects and its negative effects. Now let's look at the positive aspects of globalization. Globalization led to greater competition among the producers, and which actually had an advantage for consumers like you and me in terms of wide range of choice, improved quality and lower price. Second, It ensured that foreign investment enters India through MMC. Number 3, several or many of the top companies has also been benefited from globalization as they were able to get exposed to new technology and collaboration with foreign companies. Next one, some large companies has emerged as MNCs like Tata Motors, Infotech, etc. Job opportunities were on the rise and automatically this helped in the development of the country. It also enabled third world countries to get better technology at cheaper price. Now that we have seen the positive aspects, let's look into some of the negative aspects of globalization. Globalization has resulted in widening the income gap or inequality between the countries. Some countries became richer, some countries became poorer. It has also widened the gap between rich and poor inside the country. It has also worsened the working condition of laborers, especially in the unorganized sector. The benefit of globalization was not equally distributed among the people, and generally the upper class in terms of income and education only got the benefit. Agriculture sector has been really affected by the policies of globalization. Now we come to the last subtopic of this chapter, the steps government should take for a fair globalization. The first step is the government, when it makes the policy, it must focus on protecting the interest of all sections of the people. Then step number 2, government must ensure that the labor laws are properly implemented and workers get their right. Number 3, government should give full support to small-scale industries to face competition. And the last one, in certain situations, trade and investment should be imposed. The government should negotiate with the World Trade Organization for such fairer rules. Well, children, we come to the end of this chapter. Thank you for listening to this video of mine. I will be back again with the last chapter for class 10 board exam, that is Lifeline and Indian Economy. Till then, take care. Bye now.